All right, in this lesson, we are solving one variable inequalities, which is very similar to solving equations. So that's what we're reviewing in the warm-up. To solve 3x equals 18, we are multiplying by 3, so we need to divide both sides by 3. So x equals 6. Next, I have the variable on both sides of the equal sign. So our first step before we can isolate m is to get rid of all the m's on one side. I'm going to subtract 1m from both sides to get rid of all the ones on the right-hand side. And that leaves me 3m minus 5 equals 8. And so now that m is only on one side of the equation, we are ready to isolate it. And so to isolate m, we have to get rid of the number that is furthest from the variable first. So we add 5 and then divide by 3. And so 13 isn't divisible by 3, so we're not going to get a nice whole number, but that's okay. Just leave your answer in improper fraction form. Simplify it as much as possible. Okay, next up, we have some simplifying to do before we try to isolate x. And so first, notice that you have x terms, two x terms on both sides of the equation. And so we want to simplify each side before we start doing inverse operations. And so on the left side, we can put 8x minus 3x, and we would get 5x. And then over on the right-hand side, 4x minus x would give me 3x. Okay, and so we still have x on both sides of the equation, so now we pick a side to get rid of all of the x's. So I'm going to subtract 3x to get rid of all the x's on the right side, leaving me with 2x plus 2 on the left, and a 2 on the right. And now we are ready to isolate x, getting rid of the 2 that's furthest away first by subtracting. And that leaves us with 0 on the right, which is just a number. It's just fine. We still have our x. We can still solve for it. This isn't a special case. And so when I divide by 2, 0 divided by 2 is still 0. And so x equals 0 is my answer. It's not no solution. That's not the same thing. 0 is a number. Okay, so now we are going to talk about inequalities. So where you used to see an equal sign in all of these equations, we're now going to see these inequality symbols, and we need to know what that means. And so whenever you are dealing with the inequality that's less than, it kind of looks like an L. So if that helps you recognize your less than sign, write the word less with your less than sign. And then that also means you shade to the left, okay? And then the other thing you need to know about inequalities is if there is a line underneath your inequality, that means less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. And so you're going to use a closed circle to show that you can equal it. And then you're going to use an open circle when there isn't a line. That's a strict inequality. You can't equal it. And so a way to remember that is if you take the time to draw the line, take the time to fill in your circle. If you don't take the time to draw the line, don't take the time to fill in your circle. Okay, and so we're going to solve each of these inequalities similar to the same steps we just did above, only we really have to keep track of the inequality. Okay, and so for number 1, we only have one step, and it's to subtract the 19 from both sides. And so that gives me t is less than, not equal to, but less than whatever 23 minus 19 is. I believe it's 4. So t is less than 4. And so on the number line, just in the middle, I put the 4. And because there's no line underneath, we're going to leave it open. Open. And then because it makes the L shape, we're going to shade to the left. Those are the numbers that are less than 4, like 3, 2, 1, 0. All of those are less than 4, and they go to the left. Okay, next we're solving for W. So our first step is to get rid of all the w's on one of the sides. And so here, I like to keep my variable on the left, even if it results in nothing on the right. So if I subtract all of these w's, I'm left with 0. And then 4w minus 5w is negative 1w on the left. Okay, next we are going to add 3. Take care of the number that's not attached. And then lastly, we have to divide by negative 1. And whenever you divide an inequality by a negative, or when you multiply by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. Okay, and so because I'm dividing by a negative, I have to flip my inequality. 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. And so my final answer now is 5 is greater than or equal to negative 3. And so this is going to be a closed circle because we have the equal to option. And we're going to shade to the right because it's our greater than sign. So I put negative 3 on the number line, put a closed circle, and shade to the right. Okay, next we have d divided by 2 is greater than or equal to negative 1. And so our first step is, or our only step is to multiply both sides by 2. And we're multiplying by a positive number. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. That negative was already there, so don't go crazy and start flipping the inequality every time you see a negative. It's only when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative. And so I have d is greater than or equal to negative 2. Negative 2 goes on the number line. We have a closed circle because of the line. And then we're shading to the right because that is not an L shape. So make your closed circle on negative 2 and shade to the right. Okay, number 4 is a one-step inequality. We just have to divide by negative 2. And because I am dividing by a negative, I have to flip the inequality. The more dramatic with colors you can be, the better you'll do. Okay, so now this says m is less than 3. This is going to be an open circle because we don't have the equality option. And then it is going to be to the left because it makes our L shape. So we're going to put 3 with an open circle and shade to the left. Okay, I'm going to skip the vocabulary for now until we get to word problems and look at some special cases. And so for these special cases, it's kind of like the no solution or all real numbers case. The variable's going to disappear. And so on number 1, our first step, draw your line, is distribute that 2. And then since my variable is on both sides of the equation, I have to get rid of all of them by subtracting 8c. And all of them cancel on the left as well, leaving me with a statement that says 2 is less than 1. It's important that you keep track of this symbol the whole way because that's going to affect what this statement is, whether it's true or false. 2 is not less than 1, so this is a false statement. So anytime you have a false statement when your variable disappears, your answer is no solution. And so we can't shade anything on our number line. A symbol for no solution is the empty set. It looks like this. If you've ever used photo math, they'll use that symbol, so now you know where it came from. In this next example, we need to distribute the -3, giving us -6n minus 9. We have the variable on both sides of our equation, so I'm going to get rid of all the variable on the right by adding 6n, which ends up canceling all the variables on the left, which tells me I am dealing with a special case. 6 is greater than -9. This gives us the option to equal, but we don't have to. 6 is greater than or equal to -9. It's greater than, so this is true. And so our solution is all real numbers. The symbol for all real numbers is an R with 2 lines. So you make 2 lines kind of like an 11, and then make your R with the back line. Okay, and so we can shade the entire number line. Okay, number 3 has a lot going on, so we need to clean it up first. And so first step is we need to distribute this 4, leave this 5p alone. And then we can combine 5p and 4p to get 9p. And then on the right side, we need to distribute the 2. And then there's no terms to combine. Okay, so my new inequality has p's on both sides. So I'm going to get rid of all the p's on the right side by subtracting 8p. Okay, and so this time I'm left with p on the left minus 24. So I'm going to come up here and rewrite it. P minus 24 less than or equal to -24. So to isolate p, we have to add 24 to both sides. And then we still have p, so this isn't a special case, but we end up with 0 on the right. And just like the warm-up, 0 is a number just like any other number. So it doesn't create a special case, he's just the number for our solution set. And so because this says p is less than or equal to 0, we're going to have a closed circle at 0. And we're going to shade to the left because it's our less than sign. And so this time 0 is our critical value. Closed circle, shade to the left.